Hi, this is Olly, and this is a ELI12 Gamestop video. I'm an individual investor. This is not financial advice. I recommend you do your own research and get educated. Talk to a registered financial advisor. Everything you hear here is my own personal opinion and is completely biased based off of what I've read and the life experiences that I've had. On with the show. So in this ELI12 of GameStop, we are discussing naked shorting. So, naked shorting, there's been a lot of research. A lot of people know what shorting is, but naked shorting is an aspect of the markets that are highly illegal but very possible and is utilized very often. We've learned just how prolific it is in the market in the last year. There's been a lot of research, DDs, AMAs, super stonk posts that have really gone into the details of what and how naked shortings operate. There's quite a few ways to do it. There's the way of not actually borrowing shares, where you call someone to see if shares are available. They say that the shares are available, but you don't borrow them. The problem is when 24 people call that same guy who says that he has shares, but no one actually borrows them, you might have 10, 20 times the number of shares get sold into the market based off of that one set of shares. This is something that happens quite often, along with companies selling shares and not marking it as a short sale. They can mark it as a long sale, which means if they mark it as a long sale, that means that in the past they've gone in, purchased the stock, and they are now selling it as a long sale to make a profit. The problem is they're saying it's a long sale when it's a short sale, which means that they have no shares borrowed and no shares in existence to actually send into the market, yet they're still sending shares into the market. Another way of doing it is using your puts and calls. If you were to get both a put and a call, then the computer decides that you must have a solid share in between the two, and you can then use that share like it was any other share and sell it into the market. The impact of this naked shorting is massive dilution. In January, we were hearing that GameStop was 140% short. To put that into perspective, 140% short means that there was 2.4x the number of shares in the market at that time. With a float of 76.5 million, that indicates that there was 183 plus million shares in existence. It completely distorts all of the information and the publicly available data that we have on GameStop. If that's the case, that's more than that's almost 2.5x how many shares are in existence. That means that at that time, if their market cap was $10 billion, they actually have a market cap of $24 billion. Huge distortion when you're trying to see what's going on. By throwing that many extra shares into the market, you drive down the price because there's so much selling pressure that it drives the price of the stock down. This is future buying pressure, and this is where the fundamentals of the MOAS really come into play, but I'll go into that in other videos. We also had the legal documents claiming that there was 226% short at one point, which means there was 3.2x times the number of shares in the market than actually exist. That's 250 million shares with a float of 75 or 76.5 million. At this point, it looks like we could be 500 or even 900 plus %. 500% alone short interest on this would be a 6x the number of shares in the market than actually exist. That's 460 million shares with 76.5 million shares to back it. It's really absurd and is highly illegal. It turns out 140% that was reported is simply the max that they will report. If people don't tell these reporting agencies that they're short and how many short they are, then this 140% won't include that. But the idea with this 140% number that we got hit with so hard at the start of the year was they won't report more than 140%. It could be 500%, but they won't report more than 140% short, which is just idiotic in and of itself. It's like cropping the number of votes that come in for the new board vote that we had earlier in the year. 100% voter turnout when a whole lot of different brokerages say that maybe 60% of their voters turned out. Just blatantly capping numbers to make things look good and ignore the real devastation and the extent of the damage that's been done. They are digging a really, really big hole out in front of them. They're trying to move forwards with all this market stuff, but they're just digging a bigger and bigger and bigger hole. And eventually the edge of that hole is going to crumble and they're all going to fall in, and all these shares are going to have to be accumulated and accounted for. It's really, really quite bizarre. So in this post here by Sharkbait, he goes in and does a pretty phenomenal job of going over everything to do with naked shorting. There's quite a few AMAs that are really important for people to check out. We got Wes Christian, sorry. We have Dr. Trimbath, Queen Kong, Adabit, who phenomenal job on his research, but there are links aplenty. There is a ton of evidence. All you could possibly want has already been done in the way of research. So this is a great one to check out on Superstonk. We also have Citadel Has No Clothes. Basically, this says that there's a company that was fined 58 times for violating the naked shorting rules willfully. And it's just one company. And that was probably in the space of a couple of months. They're doubling down and tripling down on what they're doing. And I still don't understand how it's not being talked about. Another DD by Adabit here is the Everything Short. Why haven't you checked? Great DD again. Basically what this here is saying is that they're playing hot potato in the markets with money. If you don't receive your money, then you can't pay the next guy. And if he doesn't get his money, he can't pay the next guy. So they're all just passing money in a big circle. And as soon as someone drops the ball or isn't able to pass it fast enough, the whole thing's coming apart and the entire situation gets exceedingly bad very quickly. So have to throw in a post from somewhere not Superstonk. So if you need something else, check out that. If you want something super technical and in-depth, I would check out the Dark Side of the Looking Glass video. It's quite long, but it's done in a really simple way that will explain a lot of the current activities going on in the market that shouldn't be going on. So basically, illegally sending shares into the market. However, because of the way shorting works, every one means that they have to be bought back, which means we have apparently hundreds of millions of shares worth of buying coming up here shortly, and all we have to do is wait for it to start. And once that buying pressure starts, that price will fly, as it does when buying pressure gets into the market. Just ridiculous. Know it, Olly out.